Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Shanti Leon. Hi, Shanti.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good to see
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Shanti is author of Devotion, The Power to Create, and creator of the Mystic's Cycle of Initiation. She weaves sound, energy medicine, and divine transmissions to help seekers harness devotion, the living current of Source, for clarity, healing, and purpose. What have you been up to lately?
Wow, we are really going through such profound changes. We all know, we all are aware. I wouldn't be able to sit here with you and with everyone that is watching if we didn't acknowledge how truly remarkable it is that we're here. We all chose to be here right now during this transition, and we are here. So, congratulations for that.
Woo!
I mean, there's a lot that want to be here, and they're not, and we got a seat at the table. So, and we're in the room where it happens, literally. So, I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge. I want to acknowledge what everyone's going through, and your struggles, and the everything, all the shadow that is coming up. It is an immense opportunity for all of us to really have this beautiful awareness of the power of discernment at this time. There's a lot of lessons in discernment. And what does that really mean? Because that's one layer. But if we go deeper, and I know you know this, David, when you go deeper, it's really about our connection. So it's really about our connection to ourselves and our connection even deeper to everyone, our connection even deeper to the creator of all, the great mother, the source, whatever you call the one. And through all of this right now, with all of these issues of the great awakening of looking at the shadow, being forced to see different power dynamics, different misuses of power that reveal to us, we get the opportunity to discern who are we in this? How are we going to respond to this? How do we want to show up in this space because we chose to be here and we are deep in it. It is just the beginning, but we're deep in it already, about knee up. So, what are we going to do with all of the lessons and all of the things? And the message that I hear from all of the mystics, from all of us, and I know even from everyone in this beautiful conference that we're doing, a lot of the messages are about the connection. What are you connected to? What are you running? What are you? And so when we talk about it in my world, the word that was given to me to talk about it through is the word devotion, which has a lot of religious connotation. But in this context, I want to open our awareness a little bit more into a more expanded area, a more expanded awareness of a current of creative energy, which is always flowing. We have heard about this through things like law of attraction. We've heard about these things through cause and effect, manifesting your life, all of these things. The one thing that has been shown to me recently that is the level right before that is this beautiful awareness of, well, before I start creating with these positive thoughts and before I start to go out into the world and make a stand for divine justice and equality and all of these beautiful things, where are we before that? What are we plugged into that is fueling that forward motion? What are we, because we know as sound healers that whatever we plug into, we entrain with. Whatever we say, we are wanting this. We are aligning with this. We are entraining our energy frequency to that. So, what we want to look at is what are you devoted to? Because in that question, you are pulling energy from wherever your consciousness is. And that's what we have to become aware of. That's how we become master co-creators, is that we become aware of where we're pulling this beautiful energy from, allowing it into the heart alchemy center, which is really behind the heart. It's the inner heart. It's the heart that mediates between, as Kuan Yin says in my book, mediates between the ego and the higher self, the mediator. Goes into that space and then cultivates the desire that you put into the current that is flowing from your source out into the world and then back. It's like a loop that comes back. But we want to see where we're hooking into first. Where are we plugging?
Uh-huh.
And that's the question. So what have I been doing? This. like literally in the last year, and I think it's 3 months now, I've had I had a car accident and 2 concussions. So I'm dealing with neurodivergent, all the labels of things, right? Really, what it is I'm in the same place as everyone here. We are all going through this incredible transformation, all of us. We are all being asked to make a choice. And this isn't fear-based because we know that the one source creator has nothing but love for us. So this is not coming from fear. This is coming absolutely for, like, we are sovereign beings. We have to remember that we're sovereign beings and we have a choice. How do we want to show up? Who do we want to be? What do we want to plug into and then bring an anchor into the world? What do we want? How do we bring heaven on earth? How do we do that right now? And that is the question that we're all going through. And I'm going through it in my own way of, I have days where I can't talk, or I have days that I can't walk or remember things. And I'm forced, and I say that lightly because you're never forced, but my ego experiences it as you have no other choice but to do this. But it's not true. That what I'm being cultivated into is living heart first, living from a space of let's go into that intermediary space and let's pull in the energy of the highest frequency, eternal energy. If it's unconditional love or compassion, God, Muhammad, an angel, whatever that is for you is exactly where you are. And you pull that energy in and you hook it in to the back of the heart, to the inner heart. And you say, I want this. Yeah. Come in. Purify this space for me. Then you have a choice because now you're hooked in to the infinite source, to the infinite abundance, to that infinite frequency. Now, what will you do with that? You can do anything you want with this. Really.
So, oh my God, there's so much here. So, first of all, it's so cool because the main thing that I've learned in all the chaos that's going on, especially since it's amped up in politics and everything right now,
Mhm.
is ego view.
Mm.
Ego view, right? And the ego view is what you said. It's all a learning process. It's all for the growth. And then the next step is to actually go to source. And I'm doing my presentation later on source, how to
Oh,
connect to source. That's my presentation for the end of the conference.
okay. Well, then game over. We don't need to do this. Let's go do that. Like,
Well, tell,
that's all we need.
but you're kind of okay. So what if we got an alien here, like most humans, who don't have a clue? what source is.
Yeah.
I mean, when I ask people in workshops and open houses, I say, how many of you have been one with the universe? It's less than 30%. And
Mm,
it goes down from there if I say, how many know how to connect to source at will? It's
mm,
like it's less than a quarter, right? So
mhm.
it's like most people don't even know what this is,
Oh,
even though we were not only connected before we were born, generally it remains for about a year as a baby. Well, right? So we
yeah.
do know it. It's there. It's just a matter of getting back. But most people have completely forgot what it is.
Yeah. I love
How
that
to
you said that. Yeah.
how
Because
what would you say to help them connect? We
yeah.
could give them ayahuasca.
The when I was channeling the book, I asked that question to, and I'm apologizing. Like I said, I have memory things. I talked to 21 different beings in 3 days and 3 nights. So there are times when I don't remember who said what, but one of the divine beings said that because I asked what happens if they don't believe in God.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to, and they said you don't have to. Jonah, it was Joan of Arc. Sorry, I just remembered who it was. She said you don't have to. You don't have to. You believe in the highest, unchanging, unchanging, and quote everything is always evolving. That's the truth. But we experience it here as an eternal frequency. But everything is always evolving. Everything. Christ consciousness is always evolving. God is evolving. Everything is evolving all the time. But we experience it here at this level in these lower densities as a constant, as something that is unwavering. And we can experience that through divine principles, divine justice, unconditional love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, those kinds of
Even a crystal bowl
yes, yes, a really pure, beautiful, free, exactly.
or a tone.
Yes, yes, exactly an unfiltered purity, even just the word purity. um,
Hey, hey, hey.
exactly. I mean, that is, and they said absolutely go for something. It needs to be out. The suggestion, and I'll say it that way because we are sovereign beings, and I'm going to say that several times today because when we are now allowing AI and transhumanism and these things to come in and forming basically hybrid beings with sentient beings, we are having a choice about if we are sovereign or not. And if you say no, you could be in a place of, and you might not experience it this way, but it's a place of enslavement in the way that you will now be programmed the way we kind of are now, and that's why we're coming to a head with this.
Mass consciousness
Yes, yes,
and parents and even
yes,
DNA from past lives.
that's exactly right. And we have to remember that we are sovereign beings. So if we are sovereign beings, what we're looking at is what is the most in your current state of consciousness. And you, let's say you're someone that is an atheist. I know the most loving, compassionate people who are self-identified atheists. Beautiful. And I'm getting the chills actually about this. Those people have such, there are so many. I know personally, I'm just going to talk about my friends because I'm not going I don't know every atheist. But personally I know atheists that have such a clear understanding of being sovereign. They understand that they are not going with any of the dogma. They are willing to be curious and to question. They are willing to allow possibilities for things and just kind of go, well, I let's see if science ever tells us. And that's a beautiful quality. So maybe it is quantum physics, maybe it's science, maybe it's music, maybe it's other something. Wherever you are, And there is no wrong and there's no judgment and there's no hierarchy because every single one of us has an expression that is needed, valuable, important right now, and part of the whole. Every single one of us. So your actual feelings on things, your actual thoughts on things are valid, are important, even if they're different from mine or anyone else's. Period. So go for what is the most constant that you can that doesn't have the fluctuations, like an electricity, for example, that has like kind of a chaotic frequency. It's not steady. It's not right. Because you taught me that.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's so
But
interesting because if you zoom out and think about your life,
yeah.
it's interesting. This is really a conundrum. You can zoom out and think of your whole life in the past, or you can zoom in to the
Mm,
moment, which is complete stillness
mm,
of the now,
mm-hmm,
which is totally stable. It's the witness that's watching every moment
mm-hmm.
that never wobbles. That witness never wobbles.
Yes.
It's completely still.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that I whenever I go in to talk to the Light Council, um, it's they are always exactly around me every time. Wherever I am, I could be in the car driving, I could be wherever, and it's every time it gives me this understanding that like I think I'm traveling somewhere. I think I'm now in a different room or down the street,
So they
but
never
they
moves
never move.
positions. They
Nope.
never. Oh, that's
They're
so funny.
always
That's so
exactly there.
funny.
And I
That's so
realize I'm
funny.
like, we're actually, what if, and I've had this like moment with myself, what if this is what if we're not moving? What if we think we're moving, but we're
Right.
always just right here with everyone? What if that was the case? And I
Well,
have
it
to,
is quantum physics.
yes,
There's no time. There's no
exactly,
time. It's only
exactly,
moment.
exactly. That's what I've started since I started working with them. That's what I have that experience all the time. And are you having this too? Because I believe that time is changing right now. We're
Hmm.
having a speeding up, but we're also having a collapsing. So it's not as linear. Things are happening simultaneously. The past, the present, the future is all kind of happening. And I feel like all of us are
Yeah,
having this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also what's happening that's there's so many bizarre synchronicities that not only that, so many bizarre electronic things doing weird things. It's like really funny. But what has happened, I was just thinking about this the last couple of days. I've really got in touch with that a core piece of peace in me. And it's interesting because I can think of it as my root, I can think of it as even my solar plexus or my heart
Mm,
or the third eye, but it's like there's like this stillness that now I've gotten to know, and it's mostly from doing what I do with sound, and or especially getting on the sound table and being able to get back because I do vibration twice a day, and I get back to peace, so it's now the norm, even though I've
mm.
still got my
Yeah, because
here
we
and
still
there.
have our ego. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I love that you said it so perfectly because right now this is what we're dealing with. We are at a precipice as a whole collective of integrating and making the choice because we don't have to, but integrating with our higher self and our ego self. And I want to really make sure that I give them equal weight. Your ego isn't bad. It is part of the entire process that we're doing here. When you pass, this body goes and regenerates, and all of the memories in your cells, all of the experiences. If you worked with high frequency, your cells actually vibrate differently, will go into the earth and informs life here on the planet. So your ego self, your body is important. It's part of this process. And in this, we are actually becoming, and we have a choice. Are we going to integrate wholly? And what you just said so beautifully is that what that's what we go through. Our body has this other thing, and it has this other awareness that our souls, which I believe are, we have different kinds of souls, so I want to speak accurately. There are many, many souls right now that have a higher frequency that are here. There are some that have a different frequency, and some that are not from the same place. So we have all these different souls here, but let's talk about the ones, all of us here, for the most part, all of us are in these have higher wisdom access. Let's say it like that. And we come into these lower density that we are helping to evolve this planet through the vehicle of our body. And we are informing the cells with our wisdom and our light and we have this, but we still have to help train the mind. We have to train the ego and go, okay. And that's why what you just said is so beautiful, because once you access that, and we have to continually do it, you don't do it just once and then you're good. It's a continual practice. Then you are training, then you can take that wisdom and train the mind and go, okay, I know that you're trying to help me. You're trying to use past experiences so that we don't have this issue anymore. You're trying to make sure that I don't get into that position anymore. I understand it. I'm going to let this energy come up and inform you a new way. So let's work on training. And then when we do that, when we pass through and we transition to our next journey, our cells will have this memory, and it will inform the other generations coming, and it will inform the planet. So this is a very alchemical and incredibly important job that we have here. We are not just, let's experience this life and then that's it. That we are interacting with a living experience, a physical experience of divinity. We are. And
that's, I just was just right at this moment, I was thinking of something so important is, and it's tied in everything you're saying. You gotta, or I will suggest.
yes, right. I know, right?
We'll suggest.
With a lot of passion.
Yeah, right. No goddess, no goddess, because
yes,
then that's
that.
judgment. Yeah. So the whole thing is you can't identify with your body and your emotions. Most people, if you say, who are you? They're like, well, I'm all over the place. Sometimes I'm feeling love, sometimes I'm feeling anxiety, sometimes I'm a little just like I don't know what to do. And that's the emotional body. That's the roller coaster of the emotional body. And when you identify with something stable, which could be that point of awareness that's a witness, it could be the universal love you are. That you said it, or the ultimate is I am a part of source, which is as stable as it gets because it's all
yes,
one.
yes, and it's abundance. It's all the abundance. So a lot of people are worried about money right now because of what's happening. God is all the money. God is all the food. God is all, and if you don't want to say God, we can say there is, in quantum, there is an energetic connection that is life that they can measure. It's measurable. There's heart magnetic frequencies. These things are becoming measurable, which is beautiful, but it is a force that is always present. And in that, when we connect to the highest, the one, I don't even like the word highest because it's not, it feels that way from that's my human perspective. Yeah,
more
and it's
all
really
than high.
Yeah, and it's more in too. So, but you're right. But we experience our ego place does that. But the fact is that when we do that, we are now connected to the abundance. We are becoming one and entrained into abundance. There is never any lack. There is never any, but the body is, but I want to go back to what you said in the beginning when you said that we over-identify with the body, the over-identification. Because aren't we dealing a lot with identification right now too? Image identification. We're dealing with it through countries, through race, through sexes, through all kinds of these everybody. If you want to do, if you're doing a sound healing business, who is your ideal customer profile? Everything's identification.
Oh,
These
and they're huge right now. Are you Democratic or Republican in the U.S.? I mean,
exact
it's massive.
right labels, and you're right. And at the same time, let's talk about the what you know, because you say it all the time. The most powerful frequency, the most unifying, the most powerful that can help heal anything is unconditional love. It is the unifier. It is the way through to heal all of these divides and these segmentations and these fragmentations that we have.
And people know what that is.
Yes.
Almost anybody knows what unconditional love is. It's like it's my doggy when I come home, even though I've been gone for 3 days. It's or my mother or my father,
Yeah.
right? It's or the love. I mean, so that's so cool
Or
that
the sun that shines on you every day, right? Or we get, or the air that we get to breathe, or I
Mhm.
mean, we get experiences of unconditional, doesn't matter. We could be a big jerk that day, but we're still we still have water, thank God. We still have, right? We
Right,
still
right.
are
I've never
breathing
been
today.
hungry a single day of my life.
Well, see, and everybody has something like that in their life. And I say this because this over identification with the ego self, the body self, is really just more signs and indicators of wounding and the separatism that we're seeing in everything. And so one of the things that I've been really looking at is, and this is personal, but I'm going to share this because I feel like when you get these kinds of ahas, that they're meant to be shared. They're not just for you. So I'm going to share one of my ahas recently, which was when I looked out into the media and to all the things that are happening, what I was seeing and how I interpreted it was a lot of patriarchal abuses of power. And it looked like wounded masculine energy to me. This is how I interpreted it. I'm not right. I'm not right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what I did with it. This is how I interpreted and what I did with it. I saw a lot of wounded masculine energy coming from male and female, and a lot of and what does the wounded masculine do? It lashes out, it attacks, it fights, it takes up arms and says, I'm going to show you, you're not going to do that to me, I'll one up you, that kind of thing. And we see a lot of that energy happening, and it made me start to realize that there has been this like push away from our own inner masculine sides, because when I have a belief that when I see things out in the world, and I've been taught this through the devotion work as well, it's one of the pillars, reflection, the reflection of devotion, that you see back, you get the reflection back of what you're putting out into the world. So when I saw that, I took the cue for myself to look at, well, how have I abandoned my own inner masculine self? And I'm not talking about actually being a woman or a man. I'm literally talking about the attributes, as talking about it archetypally, symbolically, the attributes of my own sense of power, strength, protection, action, being able to be a leader. Those kinds of qualities are what we typically in the Western world attribute to masculine sides. And I
Empower.
realized that I had abandoned these little inner children, little boys, a 13-year-old and then a 3-year-old, that I had abandoned in myself. And when I felt into that and did a waking dream journey into that, I was able to see that some of my reactions to what was happening around me was more of that same thing. Like that, I was witnessing it in them and then mirroring it in my reaction. And so I've been doing integration work to love and use the most powerful force that we have to love that part of myself back so that I can kind of that, integrate the inner 13-year-old boy who is sick and tired of being disrespected and not listened to and all these things, and the little 3-year-old who has like such high ideals and I've just pushed aside, and I've been regathering them back into my heart and loving them back into their adulthood. And I feel like that's one of the things that you can look for in yourself, is when you are looking out at these reflections. And if you looked at it as a reflection of your own energy, whatever you are saying about it, and we know, some of us know this already, but it's always good to have a reminder. Whatever you are saying about it is in you. So then flip it around. So if you're saying everyone's so angry, or everyone's so divided, or everyone's pointing fingers, turn whatever you're saying, turn it around and go, well, how am I doing that to myself? How am I pointing fingers to myself? How am I dividing myself? And what can I do to be more loving towards myself? Because that is, I know that's really, really hard to hear sometimes when we are going through physical issues of immense magnitude, of
To be to be
witnessing
okay,
killings.
to
Yeah.
be fully empowered.
Yeah.
And that's okay to be almost a spiritual warrior.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Sekhmet, I believe it is, in the book. She talks about sacred rage. And she says that it's different from just being angry. It's when you're witnessing injustices that break divine law. And divine law, we all know what that is. When we are killing other people without any for no reason, what completely, you know what I mean? There's no, you just are out there hurting people, and out there when there was another way, when there's another way that we could do this. Those types, we know what that is. If you feel into your center, we all have an understanding when you've really kind of gone too far and gone against humanity, we call it. You could call it that.
Mhm.
And she talks about how sacred rage is a really important and necessary energy to work with through, and it's through devotion, but it has to do with, well, you have to do the 3 steps, right? The 3 Buddhist doors. Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? You need to go through the steps, and you also need to check, where are you connected? Because sometimes we could be experiencing anger because we're connecting into a frequency that is really disruptive to our own frequency, which is why going back, and this is a constant thing. You can't just do it once a day. You can't just do it once an hour. It's a constant. Mastery requires awareness, a constant questioning. What am I devoted to right now? Again, and going back in, doing the process of hooking in, and then having that energy come in, feeling that, and you can use your imagination, because your imagination is the doorway to that really being true.
Ooh,
Imagination isn't separate.
this is really important because it's really a key to so many things, to be able to take action for anything with no attachment. And it's a
Yes.
really subtle energy. You can tell the second you start getting angry. Well, for me, my nervous system is a mess. I mean,
Yes.
my nervous system is really fragile. If I get angry, it starts falling apart. So I can tell in a second when I'm upset. But you've got to be able to take this divine action with zero anger, zero attachment to it. It's just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's from a divine connection that's feeding it, and it operates with massive amounts of integrity and thoughtfulness. It is
Mhm.
not
Mm-hmm.
flailing and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
chaotic. It is thoughtful and it is step by step exactly what is needed in that moment. And it's literally, you can feel, like, even when I'm talking to you about it, I'm getting like the chills through my body because I can feel her energy coming in. But it's this incredible, like, zip up, and you're one point focused.
Oh my God, this is so important. Let's talk more. What's an example of it?
Of sacred rage.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
that you've done or you know of
yeah.
somebody that's done because this is so important for people to get and because I don't even have it down. Still I'm like rah,
Yeah.
rah, 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 right. Oh, I'm a mess.
Yeah. Well, the two things that came up to me to talk about when you asked that, I'm going to be careful about it because I have had people misunderstand what I was saying. And so let me just preface this by saying this is not a recommendation. I'm not recommending you do this. But what I am saying is that if you can start to cultivate throughout the day this more of a sensitivity, because we do need to be always working on our sensitivity. It is a strength. Sensitivity is a massive strength. Empathy is a massive strength. And so we always want to be cultivating this sensitivity to our connection. And like, you can tell immediately when you're off. That takes cultivation and practice. You didn't come in just like knowing exactly what was going on. We have to work at it. So, two examples that came in for me when you said that was one, I was in when I was living in Los Angeles. There was I was going to a movie, and it was at Compton. It was in Compton, and it was in the mall there. And there were these two teenage girls, and they were I heard them fighting a little bit before, but then when I came closer, a huge crowd of about 85 people, I think they said on the news, 85 people kind of surrounded these girls all the way, and they were all cheering at them. And when we got closer, they both had guns, pointing at each other, and they're like 13 years old. And I heard that, and I listened to what they were yelling, and it was like it was something about what they were wearing. They were kind of fighting about it, something kind of trivial. It wasn't like you stole my boyfriend or anything. It was like you wore this thing and you weren't supposed to wear it, and they were mad, and they were shooting. Had guns pointed at each other,
Wow.
and I didn't even. I felt such a sense of the crowd was egging them on to shoot each other, and I could feel that energy. And so I immediately didn't even think about it. I just ran right. I just ran right. I'm not saying you should do this, but I ran right in between them and said, "You got to cut it out. Both of you, put this down. You can't." And then my friends pulled me away, but it broke it up enough that they could get the guns away from the girls, and nobody, thank God, got killed.
Oh, I got it. I got it. This is really important. When you do action that is like tunnel vision, where you're focused on just doing something, that is can be the problem. It's
So
like really but when spirit takes over,
yes.
then it's like it's a flow. You just do it, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like in an accident where you just go and save the person,
Yep.
there's no thought. But what I thought is it's really when it's really about being tuning in
Mhm.
to the sensitivity that you said and at the same time thinking, okay, I need to not kill this person or destroy them emotionally. I need to do this action, but I need to do it in the most direct, cleanest way possible.
Mhm.
So it's a multi-awareness
Mhm.
instead of one thought, like,
Yeah.
you know
Well,
what I'm
if you
saying?
had this devotion so in my devotional flow, I have ahimsa, which is the do no harm principle.
Mm,
And I mean, it's so much in my flow that I don't even I mean, I do my best to not ever kill insects. I'm sad for the ones that I accidentally step on. But ahimsa. But this goes again to what are you? What is your frequency? Like, what are you really plugged into? What are your real values and beliefs? And we all have to. There's no right or wrong in this. So I'm not. I'm not. Nobody's better than anybody else. We're all the same. We are all the same. But we do have this opportunity for us to really look into who we really are as sovereign beings while we are still sovereign, while we still have free will to choose how we want to live, who we want to be, what kind of frequency we want to put in the world, and we still have that. And I'm saying that because I don't believe we always will. I think there's going to be a time when some people are going, and we see this now. I mean, you can see it around you. You can see people who are not living, they're not remembering that they're sovereign beings.
Mhm.
So when you have this, and I apologize, this is again where my mind starts to, you said something beautiful and I can't remember what it was.
Well, let's there's you talked a lot about it. What book? What's your book? How did this
Oh,
book come about? I mean, we've been talking about it, but
oh
like,
yeah.
tell us about what you're talking about. I mean, devotion is based on devotion. First of all, how did it happen, and what is devotion?
Okay. Um, so the book was back in 2020. It was apparent I was being called to begin more of a formal communication with the divine. Because I've always seen beings and done all that, we've my whole life. So that was like breathing. But I decided to make it more of a formal thing, and I started to see, acknowledge myself and to come out as a medium channeler person. So because I never, that wasn't really my thing that I really wanted to come out with, but it was like a call. It was like a knock on the door all the time. And I would see other mediums and they go, it's like Grand Central Station over there. I'm like, I know, because they're always here and I can always see them moving around and they're always talking to me and they wake me up and all the things. So I was like, okay, then since this is happening, let me just value this opportunity to make it formal. So I sat down and I started having formal conversations. And I would do it for an hour every day. And within the first 13 days, they told me, and this was right in the beginning, like January 1st, 2020. So within the 13 days, they said, by the way, everything in your life, I was working as a professional singer and traveling the world and doing all that. And they said, by the way, you're not going to be singing anymore. It's going to be, your whole life is about to change. You're going to have to expand because everything that you're doing, because I was even singing at the time with this famous band in Chicago, in the Chicago area. Anyway, the COVID happened within a couple weeks after they told me. And I knew exactly when it came. I'm like, you just told me about this. And so I was really kind of diving in to just having these amazing experiences where they were doing journeys with me and taking me out into the ethers and reprogramming brain things and downloading codes, all these things that I was like, wow. And they're teaching me things that would be like not able to be proved until like a year later. Then because they would say at one point sound waves and particles are the same, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then the next year they'd go, yeah, we're finding out that at some point they're the same. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my guides have been telling me this. So I had all these experiences with them that validated what was happening, and I'm very discerning, and I have a lot of ways to make sure that I'm not really interested in talking to lower frequency beings. And they'll come into sessions when I'm working with people, which is fine and great. And if it's helpful, I will absolutely happy to share. But for the most part, I deal with more of the ascended masters and the angelic beings and the intergalactic and multidimensional beings of light whew, and feel them come in the minute you call them. So, and I called them the Light Council, because I talked to them and said, "What do I call you?" And that's what they said. So that's what I call them. But then, so about 8 months into that, and I say this because nothing, you know, this took 8 months of me every day for an hour having a meeting with them. I was having experiences where they would show up and like a darshan. I don't know if you know the word darshan. It's a word that actually means that you see the divine in physical form, not in like a hologram or a spiritual form, but like with real skin, and you can touch them and they can touch you, and you see they're real. They're like they would show up in my room, and move, and wind would blow, and like all of these really crazy things that, with beings that I didn't even know. And they said, "You're going to write a book." I did work with. I was actually in school with you, because they told me to go to your school. Which, by the way, like is so beautiful. And I remember calling you and saying, "I don't know anything about this, but my beings are telling me that I need to go and take work with you." And you said, "Yeah, well, I have a lot of a lot of angelic PR," and and I was like, "You really do? You don't know?" Like, "No, but you do know." So, like, and it was amazing. And in that class, I was working with them, and they told me to go with you. And you said, "Do we have to do a final project?" And so and you said something about the gift to the world or something. And so I went in with them and I said, "Okay, well, what is my gift to the world? What is that? Like, do I have a gift to the world? Like, and if so, what is it?" And they said, "It's devotion." And I was really turned off and really offended. And I was like, "What about my singing voice?" Like, sorry, it's just so dumb. Like, but like that's my that's my little ego. There it is. But yeah, they said, "No, it's your devotion." And then I started asking them what that was and what they meant by that, and what they're, what are they talking about? And I started to understand that it is like one of the first things that they showed me was, "Oh, by the way, like every single thing that you do 150%. You are so devotional. Like I plug into whatever it is, and then I'm full speed ahead with that energy." So it's gotten me into a lot of trouble. So I say this because in the book, they like to talk about a lot of the trouble I've gotten into, misusing my devotional frequency. Like I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but
So it's it's the intention behind it.
yeah, well, the reason why it's kind of hard to break it down into like the easiest things is because it is so first of all, it's not linear. We're talking about a creative force of that which we are, of that which we were made, that links in with things like love. You can link in love, intention, and those kinds of things. However, you can also use it in a way, because it's always creating all the time. It is like if you imagine like that there's like this, like a blow machine of seeds. Like wherever you look, you're getting seeds over there, and you're getting seeds over there. Wherever you're focusing on, it's like this, like we're constantly planting seeds of creation, always, because we're here to learn to create. We are here to co-create. And this is the energy that they told me, that when we leave this body, that whatever we've cultivated here and whatever we've learned from our like denial that we create anything, from our misuses, and misuse only means that it wasn't aligned, or it got us into a lot of drama. We played out the play of drama through it. All of them are really important. Every time we use this energy, which means every day when the energy is flowing, is an immense opportunity to learn about being a creator every single day. So after about 8 months, they said, "You're going to," and I was in the class with you, and I did the thing on devotion, which was like crazy. And they said at that time, you're going to be doing a book." And I was like, on this? They're like, okay. And so then they told me on Friday, and this was like in August, I have it written down somewhere, but on Friday, you're going to go in and everything was closed. So my mom had she's a psychotherapist and she has a clinic, and nobody was there because it was COVID and everybody was home. So I went there, and for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all by myself, didn't leave the building, nothing. All day and night, I had 21 beings appear and show up and I interviewed them about devotion, about this frequency, about this force of energy that we are here to learn, to master. And then by the end of the weekend, it was 65,000 words later. And then they said, okay, now you have to write the beginning and the end. And I was like, ugh,
Mhm.
can't you write it? Can I just say whatever you want me to say? And they're like, no, you have to, because they use me as an example of what not to do. Like, and I said yes. And I have said yes. I'm a sovereign being. I don't. We are working together on this, and I said absolutely. Somebody's got to learn from all these things because, I mean, what a blessing, right? To be able to go through all of these experiences of being in the industry and being, I don't go into a lot of depth in this book, but there's a lot. I grew up in a cult and I had a lot of abuse. And I don't go into a lot of that depth, but you can see in the book they're telling me about how I learned about devotion and how I worked with it and they use that in the interviews as examples for all of us because they're pretty universal. We all get into these power struggles and then decide, I'm not going to be like you. And then we take our devotional force and we push against something. And in doing that, we're also pushing ourselves way, way back. And we're
Mhm.
losing ourselves through this, this response that we're
So,
having.
so what's the ideal that you aspire to, ideal type of devotion that
Mm.
we might aspire to?
Well, I will say that I want to be clear and say that whatever you choose to be, I mean, if right now you want to be devoted to making money, you are going to learn 1,000 things about the energy of money in your life. You're going to learn the ups, the downs, every single angle of that. Whatever we are devoting to, we're going to learn all the angles of that thing. If you're going to devote to your family, you're going to learn all the ups and downs, the ins, the outs, of every angle of what it is, what family is. You're going to get to carve out more about what that means for you. You're going to have more of an understanding of what you don't want, all those things. So everything is valuable. And everything, especially when you can look at it from, well, what am I learning about this right now, right? Um, with that being said, I know that the beings have said that in this time of immense change that is going to get more and immense threats to our physical way of living the way we have been, it's all changing very, very quickly, and time is speeding up, and we're having time collapsing. So we're really going through a quantum shift that in this time what their message of love and compassion is please choose something. I'm going to say it from them as opposed to me. Please choose something that is more, as you talked about, David, constant
Mhm.
and has that steady, expanded frequency. Please choose something like that. And then there is a way to work with this energy. We've talked about pulling it in, but then there is a way of communicating and then creating a flow and putting your desires like, oh, you want money? Great. You can still want money. That's great. We need money. I talk to the beings about this all the time, about money and physical things. And I even we have laughing conversations about it where I'm like, you do know that I'm human, right? Like, like you do know that I need these things, and they laugh at me. Of course they know, but like, so we can still want these things, but are we devoting to them? Or are we devoting to something even more expanded and bigger and constant that can is those things? So what they have said is source, God, unconditional love, the highest you can. And honestly, those I encourage you to continue to challenge your understanding of what that is, and continue to say, "Oh, well, this is the new ceiling I have of
Well,
what."
you know, this is where I've ended up,
Yeah.
service.
See, and that's and you know who I channeled Nelson Mandela. Yeah, Nelson Mandela. Sorry, I did make sure it was that's who it was. Nelson Mandela, who talks about that. He is the archetype in the book that talks about service and how and devote a divine justice and that serving a cause. Joan of Arc talks about serving a cause. It's beautiful, and when you do that, you're going to learn all the aspects of service. And when you do it, so if you let me just encourage you that if you're thinking about service, if you look at the perimeters and try, and this is again us getting better at subtle energy and subtle awareness, if you imagine that your idea and concept of service is like an object, a shape, or a color, imagine where is the parameter? Because my guess is because of our humanistic, tendencies, we have a parameter. We have an edge. So find that edge and then go, well, what if it was just like an inch out more? What if it was like a foot higher, a foot wider? What if my concept of all things is even bigger than that? And then you just are expanding this concept and being with that, because then more energy, because we are always limiting ourselves all the
Well,
time. So
well,
you're
you know me. I don't really have any trouble thinking big.
I knew exactly. Yeah. Yes, but that is such a beautiful, you are such a beautiful example and embodiment of always looking to expand. Yes.
Okay, so here's the ultimate. This is the what what I my mind can come up with as far as the highest service, and that is to come up with technologies and techniques that will bring people into source, and so that everybody can get there and they'll realize it's kind of fun. It's a blast, and it's those universal love there.
Yeah.
And then everybody will do it, and then because you're one with the universe and everybody, there's no more war. The
Mm,
compassion is built in when you're
hmm
one with the universe, with
hmm
source. It's
Yes.
built in because
Yes.
there you are them.
Yes.
You are them.
That's why they say go to compassion, go to unconditional love, because that is it. That is that frequency. And honestly, what you just said, we are heading there. We are going through this transition, and that is where we're going. That is the end game. It just, we decide how long it takes. We decide what path we're going to take to get there, and who we are in that response of what's happening and what we're witnessing. How are we responding? How do we show up? But the end game is the same. It is a place where we are going to have, I think right now they're saying 100 years. I've heard some people say 1,000 years. I don't think time is really something we can talk about that way, but we're going to have an extended expression of compassion and unity and oneness through this. And that is where we're going. So trust and hold on to that no matter what's going on. And
Okay, so what's the sound of that?
mm, I know I was thinking about you the other day. I think about this all the time because you've left such an imprint on me, which is a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful for you for so many reasons. But the it's multiple voices.
Hmm.
It's multiple tones and voices and pitches.
Multi-track,
Yes, yes, right?
right?
It is the symphony of all, honestly, it's the symphony of all sound, all tones, all expressions,
Okay, I got what.
all, wait, I'm not done.
Go
All
ahead.
sounds, all expressions, all congealed with the unconditional love. And I want to say it's not love romantic.
Right.
Please don't look in that front heart. The front heart is more connected to the ego and it has more of a, I want to love somebody and I want romance, all that stuff. It's not that. It's actually, it's unconditional love, which is completely doesn't have a judgment about you. It's not good or bad or dark or light. It is the embrace of all. It is the embrace of all of you as perfect, whole, complete. It is this beautiful, accepting, unifying energy that so all the beautiful tones and expressions have all healed into that space of love. That's the sound. That is the sound.
Yeah. So here, so let's end this way. So embody that entire symphony. You don't need to make a sound at all.
Mm.
Embody and hear and feel the whole symphony. And let's end that way. Say something so the camera goes on you. Okay.
Hello. And laughter, you guys, right?
Right.
Clear laughter is the best way to decharge all that stuff. Find ways to laugh it out, find ways to decharge whatever's blocking that channel. Let us just take a moment and everyone just close your eyes for a second. Let's do this together. We want to bring in the energy of unconditional love through the back of our heart, right through the spine. So imagine that there is an opening right above your head that opens up and a bright light shines down. And now let's breathe in because it's falling all around your body. And we're going to breathe it in through our backs of our hearts and fill up our heart space. Breathe in. Just hold for a second and express it out in gratitude. And we'll do it again. Breathe in and let it purify the inner heart, clear away any debris, and we're going to express it in peace, ultimate peace. Let's do an Om. Om. One more. Om. Now let's take this energy. We are sound. We are light. We are one with the divine. And allow every part of your mind that tells you anything else to just fall away. Let it release into the ground. And we call in all of the divine support and we ask now together. For when we do this together, we are amplified with immense divine power. And we ask now that this energy be brought out into every heart, every mind, to remind them who they are And let us tone the sound of peace. That was so yummy. Yummy sounds, yummy tones. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you. Namaste.
Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Starwater and Soul. Hi, guys.
Hey, great to be here, David.
Welcome, welcome. Starwater and Soul are united by a deep connection through sound. That's actually Bodhi Starwater and Christopher Soul Parnell. They create immersive, transformational journeys that transcend boundaries. Their work weaves primordial instruments, celestial tones, and ethereal soundscapes into a tapestry that brings earth and sky, bridges earth and sky. With over 40 years of experience as a sound healer and musician, Bodhi blends the ancient wisdom of South American sound healing traditions with his extensive music training. His mystery of diverse instruments combined with his intuitive artistry creates deep transformational resonance that reaches the soul. Drawing on over a decade of experience in sound healing, Christopher channels the raw power of the didge and the radiant tones of the handpan to create transformative sonic journeys. His mastery of these instruments taps into the earth's elemental energy, bridging the physical and spiritual realms. Together, they blend ancient tones, modern vibrations, and intuitive wisdom, forming a dynamic partnership that invites deep connection and inner alignment. Through music, they weave the unseen. They walk the mystic path as sonic alchemists, bearing relics of sound from forgotten dimensions. Their visual world mirrors this mythology, the vastness of deep space, collaborating with the sacred geometry of elemental life. This is not a performance, it's an invocation, a mythic remembering. Mm,
Mm.
wow. What have you guys been up to lately?
Wow. What have we been doing, Chris?
There's been quite a progression in the last year. Album, an EP, working on a course, touring.
Yeah, pretty much bouncing back and forth between Los Angeles and Mount Shasta and rehearsing together, touring. Created 2 albums this year, and we're creating an online course called The 5 Elements of Sound Healing based on my book, The 5 Elements of Sound Healing, and that's what we're working on right now.
Excellent. Cool. Okay, so I got the big question for you. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people?
I have an idea that
Mm-hmm.
just came to me. I would assemble a beautiful team of sound healers, and I would create a beautiful tour in sacred places. And we would sponsor the tour so anybody could come, and we could create a sound healing resonant field in all the sacred spots that we could reach in that time frame.
I love it. And we videotape it in 3D with and
Holographic sound.
right and send it out to everybody for free.
Yes.
I love it.
And that's why we're working together here, because I'm totally on board with that mission.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, welcome, welcome. So, um, let's begin. Tell us about yourself. I know you've been doing this since the beginning of time, Bodhi. You've been in many of my conferences, and we've worked together over many years. So, how did you get started, and when did it kind of open up to another level?
Well, I first got really turned on to sound healing in the 1970s when I was studying with Stephen Halpern,
Oh,
and he was opening up the whole world of sound healing. I took an improvisational course with him, and then he morphed and got really into the Sound RX program, and really inspired me to look at sound in a different way, to bring it more into the cultural milieu. But in college, I was studying Hazrat Inayat Khan and his whole take on sound healing and the voice and the frequencies of life that he was so deep into. It inspired me a lot. So then I created a sound healing duo in the 1980s, and we played for about 3 or 4 years, conferences, psychology conferences, meditations, global events, and we would do a lot of sound healing uh, uh, events with Tibetan bowls, gongs, flutes, conch shells. And I had a cassette called Cloud Etchings. And that was like my first sound healing album in the 1980s. And so I did that for a few years. And then it morphed into the whole New Age genre. And then it morphed into all kinds of different directions. Then about 7 or 8 years ago, it feels like the sound healing fad or the sound healing movement like blossomed, and I started coming to some of your events in San Francisco and putting it all together. And then when I met Tito La Rosa about 7, 5, 6, 7 years ago, everything came together for me, and it fell into place for me in terms of, this is what I've been preparing for my whole life. And I brought out all of my exotic instruments I've been collecting, and it all meshed perfectly with Tito. And he gave me a transmission, very deep transmission, when I studied with him in Peru. And it just felt like, oh, I'm here.
nice. Excellent. Beautiful. Okay, Saul, tell us about your history here.
Yeah, I've always loved music, and vibration didn't quite hit me in the way until I found the didgeridoo. And it's through Astarias Miraculi and Rafael Bajarano, which are huge influences for me. And yeah, really diving deep within with the didgeridoo and just opened me up into the whole sound healing, sound meditation world, and just the depths that I was going to with the didgeridoo specifically. Wanted to share that, and then just many instruments I've connected with after: the drums, rattle, hand pans, and yeah, I've been offering for 13 years publicly, and then also in addiction treatment centers down in LA. And then we connected about 3 years ago, and it's just been, there's been such a progression, especially with his background in music and music theory. I've learned so much from Bodhi and his book. So really honored to be crafting this course together, and sharing both of the wisdom that we've accumulated over this time.
Excellent. So I always think, I've been to sound baths and concerts that were kind of annoying. And then I've been to others where the room lights up like white light through the whole room. Purple light comes pouring in through the ceiling. People are bawling on the floor, massive healings. And it's just people just don't know what happened, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What do you think creates the difference between those two?
That's a great question that I think about. As a preface to that, my mission in being a teacher is to bridge the world of musicians and sound healers. So I feel like there's an important aspect. Many people who are drawn to sound healing, being sound healers, are often sound healing or practitioners like Reiki or massage, or deep, whatever kind of healing work they do, and they bring in a crystal bowl or a gong, and then they bring their healing presence to that. And then there's musicians who come in and just play too many notes. And so to me, there's this beautiful spectrum between the two where the principles of sound healing, the principles of entrainment, the principles of intention and cymatics and binaural beats and overtones, all this awareness, bringing in musicality and understanding of musical modes, you can create a deep, deep experience with musicality. And so I feel like when you bridge those two experiences and those two skill sets, somehow there is that. I've had that experience in some of my performances where all that you just explained actually really happened, and people just come out of it and go, "Wow, that was the most amazing journey ever." And so I understand that difference. And so my feeling is that the more we understand really deeply about how music works, to play your instruments with skill and delicacy and tenderness and incorporating sound healing principles, I feel like that's where the magic happens.
And really with the intention. I mean, we just played an incredible festival and seeing so many artists where it was more of a performance that they were giving, to where really the intention with us is to practice and really dive into that really sweet space where we aren't.
We're out of the way.
Yeah, we're out of the way, and I feel we're continually bringing that to the sessions. And
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. Yeah, I think that's really important. I often, I used to not call in. I used to call in higher beings. I didn't know what I was doing. And then about 5 or 7 years ago, the room started changing, and I started seeing beings in the room and sparkles and stuff. And all of a sudden, it was different. There's another thing that's really interesting. I found that some people can actually hold space in another dimension for the whole night as a trance. I sometimes can do that, but not always.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing is holding an intention, specific intention for 10 or 15 minutes, or even maybe 20 through the night. So I'll say, okay, the overall intentions to actually change the planet, bring peace, love for everybody, right? But we're going to start with releasing our stuff for the next 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to bring in universal love into our heart for the next 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to send that universal love out to the world for the next 20 minutes, right? And that way I'm able to hold the energy. Although, I mean, a lot of people just go into trance and they don't have to do anything. They're in the energy for an hour and a half. And it's like completely, there's no need to hold an intention because you are the energy of the intention.
Right.
And
Well said.
That's what
Yeah, with the amount of practice with an instrument and such medicine for myself playing. So also when we're playing together, we can drop into that space quite
Exactly.
deeply.
That's the beautiful trilogy you have there, like clear the space,
Yeah.
dive in, and put it out. It's a beautiful, like visual. I like to create visuals, sometimes visual scapes to intend the soundscape. Done that all when I've been touring. You create a soundscape, and then you create visuals to go with it. Whatever the portal is of love or clearing or peace or the feminine or the masculine. You can play with all those different things. And I love the way that was a beautiful trilogy you just outlined as a beautiful intention. So it is fun to start with the rattles and the gongs, break it up, and then drop into a deep entrainment with the love, and then gradually people relax. Then you bring in some harmonics, some overtone series, and so there's a natural alignment with frequencies, and then just play the flute and send it off to wherever it's needed.
I love it. I love it. It's very similar to the flow. What I've done in my book is I've mapped out dynamic curves.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
some people do the mountain.
Yeah.
They'll start mellow, get intense, and mellow out. And some people, I mean, if I'm doing a treatment on somebody, I like the one for depression, where it's the stairway to heaven. You get more and more activated. Right, right. But what I do for sound baths, which sounds like very similar to what you do, is I'll do a downward curve where it's
Hmm.
more and
Hmm.
more mellow, and then use a melodic instrument like the flute or,
The
crystal harp.
charango. They love
Yeah,
the charango.
uh-huh. At the end, because melodies are so sweet. They're
Right.
so sweet.
Soothing.
And then you do the breaking up at the beginning, right? Because
Hmm.
I know when I get mellowed out, a lot of people don't care. But when I get mellowed out, I don't want to get super activated again. I want to get even more mellow.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to go away in peace. You want to feel the peace and have that reference point of the perfect alignment of all your cells in your body aligned naturally through the frequencies of sound and vibration
And carry it home
and carry it home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
into
my
the
God. The
world.
one thing that I've learned that's really cool is when you get really mellow halfway through
Hmm.
and then get really mellow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Really, where you're barely
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I
Okay,
find
so
sometimes one thing I've done lately, I've been experimenting with is at the very end of it, I'll bring in a little chant, which
oh
starts to
nice.
bring the body back. Because as soon as the mind hears words, it starts to drift back into the body and starts to come back to this plane. So I find it's a great smooth transition back to this plane because ultimately we're going to come back into the room and sit back up and share an om together and just chill out to really integrate the experience. But that sometimes a little chant with the charango actually brings people, starts to open up the doorway to come back to this world.
Hmm.
I love that. I love that. You know what I sometimes do is actually commonly is afterwards I'll create a circle and we'll
Yeah.
just tone, and then I have everybody hug everybody one
Yeah.
person at a time with sound.
Wow.
Mm.
Boy, well that's a
And
whole second half of the workshop.
oh my God, oh my God, it's so cool because now everybody's connected and talking. Okay, so when you talk about using music theory to develop your sound bath flow, what do you mean
Right.
by that?
Well, I come from a musical background, and and it's interesting that even way back when I started as a musician, I was very interested in modal music. I did a lot of improvisation. The person that woke me up to the flute and to sound healing was Paul Horn when I first heard his music as a teenager, and I ended up studying with him a few years later. But there was always something about the drone and the modal music. I studied Indian music as a long time. It was Sachdev, the flute player, and there's something about when you learn about the modes, because there are different moods, you can really create a feeling tone. And if you understand your instrument enough and you can play melodically and spaciously and simply and repetitively all at once and make it very musical, but also make it very trancy and not too distracting. There's that fine line in between of just one super simple, too simple, and too complicated. So, using music theory, like knowing the keys of your instrument, what keys, what notes your instrument has, and how it fits with another instrument, and what mode it's in, whether it's a major mode or a minor or a Dorian or a Locrian or a Phrygian mode, all these different modes that you can create different moods with. I feel like it creates a more wide variety of sonic tapestries for different people who relate to different things, and it creates a more broader palette for a larger group to relate to.
I love
That's
it.
a begin. That's a beginning.
Just so to explain what a mode is, there's, a mode is they're kind of archetypal or special scales.
Right.
So there's like about a dozen modes that are really specific. Now, you can actually access them by starting with the different keys on the keyboard and just playing
Right.
the white keys. But
Right.
they're so there's the special scales that have been used since the beginning of time to create these moods. Yeah.
Right,
Oh, that's
exactly.
very.
If you study Indian music, there's hundreds of modes
Uh-huh.
because they get into quarter tones and they get into, like not just using the seven notes, but actually you go outside of that and you use notes outside of the diatonic scale. And as all that becomes a bit more deeper possibility, but just even working within the seven notes, you get a lot of variety and depth. And using the root and the fifth, that classic sound healing principle, the first harmonic, the 2 to 1 or the yeah. So it's like it really the 3 to 2 actually is the fifth,
Three to
isn't it?
two. Mm-hmm.
So then you've got that it kind of immediately you've already created like a safe container within which people can drop into, and then once they're already in that space, the rest of the music just takes them on the journey and helps them access different feelings and colors and
Well,
animals and
what's your favorite mode? The deepest.
Lydian.
Really? Why?
Because it's just the most majestic. I often end with Lydian because it takes it beyond the major mode. It just lifts it with those two half tones between the fifth and the seventh and the root. You got that sharp 4/5 and the sharps in the 7/1. You've got that beautiful two places where you just have that lift and it just creates this really deep, sunny feeling. But there's like the Lydian just somehow takes it to this majestic place that I just really love.
I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
Another thing based on music theory that's so important, and it's just so, I should say it's so much better. When you end on the home note of the key of the voice and do a slow fade, right? There's nothing better than when the sound ends. And I like to do that 4 or 5 times through the whole night
Sure.
and just go to that stillness. And whatever you
Yes.
do after is magical.
Yeah. And then the silence is a sound.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then, oh my God. And then there's the didge. Holy moly. I mean, I mean, God, the didge is so unbelievably powerful. Tell us, how would you describe a didge to an alien that's never seen it?
Good question. Yeah, I find that maybe different than an alien would experience this earth element, this deep vibration that really connects us into the earth. I feel really in my body as I'm playing the didgeridoo, very grounded, and yeah, it takes people very deep. Sometimes people even experience such grounding that they feel stuck to the floor, maybe feeling in their body more than they have for a long while.
And then if you get it right on a person, you get that physical vibration. Oh my God.
Oh,
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Because I categorize sounds as to more activating or calming. Like the gong's the most activating, the harp's the most calming. Didge is like a really unique balance because you got the which is more activating with the lips,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a long tube that was very warm as well. So it's kind of got the almost a perfect balance of activating and calming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really differs from didgeridoo to didgeridoo,
And how you
like
play it
like a
too.
hardwood and has really good back pressure. It can be more stimulating with a hardwood, but then there's more sensitivity, so I can play it a lot lighter. And then the yuccas, which are lighter, it's a thinner wood, so it influences the vibration more. It's a deeper tone, warmer. I can actually bring it around and play right over people. So it really differs, yeah, the playing style and also the type of wood.
Cool.
And so
Cool.
when we play the didge and the flute together, we have earth and sky.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we become the sonic travelers.
Oh, nice. So how do you incorporate breath into your sound bath?
Ah, it's all about the breath.
Uh-huh.
Breath, our breath is an instrument. And so, so in our course, we have a breath work practice for each module that goes along with the principle and with the quality and with the instruments. I always start with what I call the ocean wave Buddha breath. And that is basically the singer's breath, the meditation breath. It's like the diaphragmatic breathing. But it's like if you actually realize that your breath is like the ocean, it never stops. You can sit at the ocean 24/7, 365 your whole life, and you will hear, even if the tiniest ripple in a calm day, you will hear the ocean wave. And our breath is like that. As long as the breath is going in and out, we are alive. And so the ocean wave is that thing, the in and the out. And the Buddha is like we expand like a Buddha on the in breath, diaphragm pushes down, belly goes out. So we go. If you breathe in through the nose, you get that yogic breathing. So I begin with the breath, and the breath awakens the instruments because the instruments are silent until our breath awakens them, our life force energy, our chi. And so that to me is how we awaken. So I always begin with the harmonica. You breathe in, you breathe out. You're already doing sound healing with just your breath and one simple instrument. And you can entrain yourself like that for a long time. And then Chris knows lots of different breath techniques. So how do you use it? Obviously, the didgeridoo is pretty breath centric.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I studied in transformational breath work, which is connected breathing, quite like holotropic. And yeah, but in this course, we've brought very simple techniques, just like alternate nostril breathing or box breathing to really calm the nervous system before a sound session, or even bring it into your practices.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I've got when I do any music, I meditate on an intention. So when I did my Unconditional Love CD, I meditated on universal love. And then I noticed the tempo of my breath. And I set the recording program, Pro Tools, to that BPM of my breath
Oh,
and
that's
played one chord
cool.
on the in breath and another chord on the out breath. And so
Ooh,
all my songs are generally recorded to the breath of a specific intention.
the rhythm of the breath.
It's really cool. You
Beautiful.
also, what I've realized is I played with different intervals for the breath, and I love the musical fifth for the in breath
Mm-hmm.
and the home note for the out breath.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what the tambura is doing.
Mm.
5-1-1-1. 5-1-1 for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Mm.
5-1-1-1. I mean, it's like all right there, and you can totally trance out on that and just go. And if you include your breath into that, it's interesting because the harmonica is the one is the 5 chord on the in breath and the 1
Mm.
chord on the out breath.
I love it. I love it.
Right? So it's the
Oh,
same thing. Five, and you do the rhythm to it, you get the entrainment. It's a Colombian ceremonial harmonica technique. And you go 5-5-5-5-5-5-5-1-1-1-1-1. 5-5-1-1-1. And you're there.
I
And you put
love
a
it.
didge under that, and then you're gone.
You know what I do is I find a person's metabolism and I can find their breath rhythm.
Mm.
Oh, that's great.
And I made a song for mine, which is a B flat. My
Okay.
rhythm is a B flat. If you octavize B flat down, you get a rhythm. And what I did
Oh,
is
right,
really
right,
fun.
right, right,
You'll
right.
love this because you said the ocean. I went on the internet and I downloaded like 6 different types of waves. And then I put them in, and on the in breath, I've got the 6 waves crashed with the musical fifth. Mm. And then an out breath is another crash of all six waves.
Mm.
And I go to the home. Ooh.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that because I
Yeah,
know if you can take any note and you drop it down to its very bottom, you're going to get a 6 BPM or an 8 BPM. You're going to get some brainwave state of rhythm. And anytime you have a magnification of that, you're actually getting the same thing within any note. You break it down, and because every note contains all the rhythms and all the frequencies of itself.
I bet you do it to yours.
I probably just instinctively naturally
Right.
do, right?
We probably, most people
Yeah.
naturally do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. So whatever that rhythm is, whether it's 60 BPM or 58 or 50 or 70 or whatever, it goes down and then drops down. If you break that down and 60 breaks down, down to the six, then you've got your theta brainwave state, and then you're totally
Right.
there. Like you're already
Right.
there because we entrain ourselves, and then that presence and that frequency emanates through the room and is the calming presence with the music. And then when we collaborate with each other, we are actually expressing a harmonious connection between two humans, which is what we all want.
Yeah. Oh my God. Excellent. I love it. I love it. So you work a lot with the elements. So
Yes.
tell us your sound and correspondence to the elements and how you work with them.
It's something that came to me. I've worked with the elements all my life in all the different circle, ceremonies, studying Native American teachings and studying the natural, because the elements of nature, I realized at a certain point when all the elements of nature are in balance. I have ether as the spirit. And I know they're all different. Every tradition has a different association with different directions for the elements. And so you can flow with the chains, and sometimes there's one flip, but there's about 20 or 30 different systems of ceremonial systems in the world that use the elements. So I start with the ether in the center, the spirit, and then the fire in the east, the water in the south, that's emotions, and then the earth in the west, and air in the north, the breath. And so I realized when we're in perfect harmony, we're happy. When we have just the right amount of moisture, just the right amount of heat, just the right amount of cool. If it gets too hot, you need some air to cool down. If it gets too dry, you need some water to freshen. If you get too cold, you need some fire to warm up. If you get too spacey, you need to ground with the earth. If you're lost completely, you need some spiritual guidance. You need to drop into your center, into the ether element, which contains them all. And so, with that awareness, I lived my whole life like that. And then one day, about 5 years ago, it just somehow, with the five elements and the five principles of sound healing I was working with, and the five senses, five is a very powerful number. I just, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, the five elements of sound healing. It was just a starting place because I don't fixate any instrument in any one element. Because, say, the didgeridoo can be earth and air because it's breathing and it's also totally grounding. So it's kind of in between earth and air. So the elements are not fixed, they fluidly mix with each other. Fire needs air to burn. Fire and water make steam, and steam can power energy. The sun can evaporate the water. So there's this whole interplay of the elements that I live within my own being. And when I'm playing things, I feel like the fire the rattle awakens the fire element. So this is how I could go on and on and on like that. I just play with the elements like another instrument. I guess that's the way. And so I have associated them in this book, and this is what our course is based on because it gives you a starting place to learn some basic principles, some basic musical techniques, and some basic breathwork techniques. And then you learn to combine them all. Just like in cooking, it's like there's salt, pepper, eggs, flour. You can make a lot of different kind of cookies with the same ingredients.
Beautiful. Just perfectly said. So tell us the way you start. What are some of the instruments for each element?
Well, and again, here's where I got liberated with Tito La Rosa. I've studied a lot of different, the Fabian Maman school and then all of your principles and Stephen Halpern's principles and Jonathan Goldman's principles. I've studied all of these principles, John Bellew and Randy Masters. I love all of that work. And then when I met Tito, he was like the intuitive maestro de silencio, And so like I was like, oh my God, I am liberated from having to actually think too much about what I'm going to play. The instruments tell me. I have about 30 instruments around me, and they tell me which one wants to start. It's so intuitive now, and I'm aware of like, it's not like, oh, the room is too cold. I better pick up a rattle and heat up the room. Oh, he's stuck over there. I better play the gong. I don't play that way. This for that kind of allopathic approach. Definitely more of a holistic, whether you call it a naturopathic or intuitive sound healing, like the spirit voices and all that. So for me, that's how I've used it. So I don't have a specific way, but I do have certain things I know that work really well and always create a beautiful sound. I've got about 10 or 15 different portals that I just really, they're a little bit different. So the order changes with every sound healing. I've done about 200 or 300 sound sessions in the last 3 or 4 years, and not one has been the same.
I love it. You could totally organize your whole session that we are talking about intention before. You could organize it based on the elements.
He's right. And
Right?
I do, and I can do that when I'm teaching. We do that as an exemplary example of, we start with the gong and the rattle and the fire, and then maybe we go into grounding the earth a little bit, and then perhaps the water to free the emotions and soften the place, and then the air to just take flight when you're completely balanced and you're free now to live your life the way you want to.
I love it. The extreme case here is you can, take this into Chinese medicine, which is totally about a
That's
balance
right.
of the elements,
That's
and
correct.
then do an assessment and then go,
Yes.
hey, you need a
Yeah.
gong today. I
Yes.
mean, it's like,
Yes.
no, maybe I did exactly,
Yes, I've
exactly
thought
the
of that very idea often, but since I'm not an acupuncturist, I decided not to go down that road.
cool, cool.
I'd love to hear Chris's take on the elements.
Yeah, very connected to nature.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we're in unbelievable space here at the Soundscape Oasis in Mount Shasta, where he's really tended to this land, and it's really a canvas that he tends to every day. And yeah, so I also work more intuitively. Um, feel like there is this harmonious connection that we have that we drop into, and one piece that is really helpful that is rooted in the elements in a way is working with portals, like he mentioned, like having 10 different portals that we can shift intuitively, but there's kind of a guiding structure
Hmm.
with each portal, which we dive quite deep into in the course.
Yeah.
But it's been really helpful to feel into the room and be able to work intuitively, but then have those pieces, those portals where we're working modally to where we can be guiding in a harmonious way.
Yeah, but the elements themselves, if I go deep enough, I realized at a certain point that the elements were my real sound healing teacher
Mm,
because sitting next to the creek and hearing the wind in the trees and then the crickets, it's like the ultimate sound healing. So I learned from the crickets melody. You sit by the ocean and there's a bazillion, every melody in creation is in those waves. And then there's the wind in the trees, and then there's the crackling of the fire. And then there's like the water flow, and then there's the crickets, the frogs, oh my God, or the cicadas, or like the squirrels have been talking to us all week up
quite a
here.
bit.
It's like there's such a language in nature, sonic language. Sound is a living organism. And so all these elemental beings, like you call in these spatial beings, I call in elemental beings, like elemental beings that balance the elements. So in a way, I let nature do the work. I'm just a channel to whatever nature wants me to speak, wants me to sing, which wants me to awaken. So the more I can actually replicate the wind in the trees or the waves of the ocean with the ocean drum or whistling and creating this, this incredible how much nature and the elements of nature just inform my entire being, and thus all of our events and all of our experiences that we're offering to people so they can drop in to their elemental nature and awaken their life force energy to live their best life.
Seems like the perfect time to experience it.
Yeah,
Is
good
there
idea.
uh, would you like to set it up or you want to just go for it?
Maybe just go for it and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it afterwards if we want to.
Okay, excellent. Got me in the zone. It's amazing how certain instruments, like the little, what's it called?
Ocarina.
Ocarina. Just the sound of it puts you in the zone. Even you're just playing something simple and the energy you guys bring to it, it all fits together to create this coherence. That was just, well, just immediately dropped in. It
Hmm.
was really,
Coherence is a good word. That's a very powerful word. Coherence, like it's like something has integrity and self. It's like it works within itself,
right.
and that's the goal: is to feel that in ourselves and then allow that to awaken, because we all have that natural state. And the sound healing music just allows that to arise within each person.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a drone. A drone is so effective. I always think of it. Peace is a frequency humming consistently.
That's beautiful. I'm going to quote you. Peace is a
Excellent.
drone humming consistently.
Right, right.
Okay.
So, okay. So you're in Mount Shasta. I can't help but asking, because I know I talked to somebody. They said they were walking along and a little gnome showed up with a backpack, and they
Okay.
said, "What you got in the backpack?" And he said, "Pinecone." And he pulled it out and threw it at them, and they had a snowball fight, and it was all about bringing more joy. And then I had another guy who's a professional recording, and maybe you know Lumen up there.
Oh,
Lumen's,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know Lumen
yeah.
well.
I know Lumen really well too. Lumen, the reason he moved to Mount Shasta, he was at Panther Meadows and he saw this big bee with a woman's face.
Hmm.
And he thought, I'm moving to Mount Shasta.
Mhm.
So when you're doing your sound, you had any weird things happen?
Not really. I've been coming to Mount Shasta my whole life, over 50 years. I've been coming here and been living here off and on for the last 40 years. So I experienced Mount Shasta in more of an elemental nature way. I was a wilderness guide and a river guide for 25 years. Spent most of my time out in the woods, and what I experience in Mount Shasta is more of a deep mysticism within myself rather than phenomenon. Now, I know everybody experiences life differently, and many people do have visages and apparitions and these kinds of things. And I tend to be more of a feeling type of experience. So I feel like in some ways, where my place is here is right between Mount Eddy and Mount Shasta, and right next to Black Butte. So it's at the trifecta of the Strawberry Valley: Black Butte in the middle, and Mount Eddy in the west, and Mount Shasta in the east. And so there's like a ley line almost. So it's more of an energetic experience for me. And so I don't really have the apparitions of jaguars and gnomes and fairies and Lemurians and stuff. I know a lot of people who do, and that's their experience, and it's beautiful for them. I don't know what Chris's experience is here with that.
What's interesting, elemental wise, what we've experienced here, where we're just ending a sound session and then the rain just slowly comes in and then picks up. It just,
Or the snow
yeah.
sometimes just comes in. Yeah, or the crickets. All of a sudden, we just end the sound session, and the crickets like are just there's that hum. there's that endless hum
Yeah.
that the crickets are like exactly. That's why crickets are so peaceful.
Mhm.
I even wrote a book chapter in my book called Cricket Therapy in my first book, Tao of Music. But I don't know. Do you see apparitions and gnomes and fairies and UFOs and stuff like that?
I haven't. No, definitely. I mean, feel a presence, especially while playing my instruments out on the mountain or near the lake, and yeah, just feel this at homeness here and
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
was in Southgate.
stillness.
I was in Southgate, and Mother Mary, no drugs. Mother Mary came walking up to me, turned around, and sat in my heart.
Okay.
Huh?
Well, that's probably because you're so connected to Mother Mary.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
called it in. It's almost like it's an energetic expression of your love.
right, right,
And the
right.
veils are thin
And
here.
the veils are thin, so things like that can happen. I think some people are more visual than others, and
Yeah,
some more auditory. I hear lots of amazing sounds. I'm very auditory,
cool.
and so yeah, so that's not been my experience, but I know a lot of people do have experiences like that.
Anything else you want to share before we end?
Just love if people are interested in more, we have this sound healing book, Five Elements of Sound Healing, and we're building a course around that. Starwater and Soul, you can listen to our music on all the streaming platforms. You can also listen to Bodhi, Bodhi, Bodhi with a hat. I have about 200 or 300 tracks up on the internet. Most of them are sound healing tracks. And you can always drop in and listen to those when you feel like you need a little reset. And we look forward to really connecting with people in our sound healing community, like you have created so beautifully down there in Sausalito. And so we're just wanting to stay connected. I really appreciate and thank you for inviting us to be part of this program. And it's a real honor to be here with you.
Yeah, really honored. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for your wisdom and the energy you bring forth. I love it. Take care.
Thank you.